And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone, live on remote today at Peach Doors and Windows. We are so excited to be here. Of course, you can come by and see us 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. You can also call them 801-566-1255. If you know Peach and you know Cindy, they're basketball people here. So odds are when there's a big basketball day, we're going to make our way down to Peach.
High floor, high ceiling for Peach. You're going to change your house. You really go for a swing and go for the upside, but real safe floor as well.
2940 South.
Sorry, I'm still
West.
In draft mode.
Thanks to the Cage for having us out for
cool.
the draft show yesterday. That certainly, I thought, was a lot of fun. Shout out to all the staff that came by. Shout out to Coach Cleve. Those shows are often tricky, and Christian did a great job producing. And you know what, Ben? We were not short of things to talk about, which in the past with some drafts is definitely a thing. Last night was not one of those nights.
No, from a programming standpoint, having a pick at 5 gives you enough time to lead up and build up to the pick with a little bit of excitement, as opposed to, Dallas has the first pick and the night's over for them. That's actually kind of a hard show to do, even if you're excited to get a guy like Cooper Flagg. But you go up to number 5 and you've got a lot of anticipation, and then there's reaction, and then you go right into the anticipation for what ended up being the 18th pick, not even the 21st pick. Just spacing-wise, it worked out really well for us, and then the actual content that we got with the players the Jazz selected, I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, they came on. They were on with us, both picks, so that was really cool. Again, shout out to Madeline, who was kind of the PR person for the Jazz, who was on the ground making that happen. It was really cool. I'm trying to think of the more boring draft, because I've done the draft show for a while now, and the night that they traded, I'm trying to remember when we found out that they traded their first-round pick for George Hill. But I felt like that was early in the draft, and then it was just like, okay, well, there's no relevance to this. We stopped doing picks and stuff and just started talking about George Hill, because that was
right.
I mean, that all of a sudden was the major thing. So I guess that was kind of funny because it happened right at the beginning, and then we were left with basically no Jazz storyline for the rest of the night other than George Hill, right? So, but the draft all of a sudden became not relevant.
I was at the draft when the Jazz traded the pick for Mike Conley the day before. I was just like, wow, I've got nothing to do here. I'm here a day early. I was like, maybe they'll get another pick, but it didn't seem likely, and certain enough, they did not.
They did not.
They did not. Now, that was when they did both rounds in one day. That was before they'd split it up into 2 days. But regardless, no, I thought it was fascinating last night. And then the players they picked, I mean, there is not, and you can see it all over the internet this morning, there's not a more interesting player in the draft, I think, than Ace Bailey. He's a fascinating basketball player on the court and off the court. His pre-draft storyline was the main narrative over the last week of what was going to happen and what was he doing and was he going to fall and who would have the guts to take him. And the Jazz just planted a stake and said, this is our guy. We're going to take him. End of story. Not really worried about it. And immediately they informed Jonathan Givony at Draft Express that we're keeping him. Like, this is not a pick that's going to be traded. This is a guy who's going to be in Utah. End of story. And they just want to move forward with it.
Which is absolutely their right to do, which it makes the games before the draft a little more understandable, because really Ace Bailey's career is now kind of out of his hands as far as choose your destination for 7 years, really, if you push it to the limit. But we're talking at least 5-6 years where he really is not going to have any control over what team that he plays for. And so there's, he's going to come in, and the Jazz are going to put their best foot forward, and all this, interviewing circus is going to go into the rearview mirror, more or less because it has to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like where you don't want to go to junior high school. You're a little nervous about it. You'd prefer to stay in elementary school, but guess what? You're going.
Yeah. And his agent is his real estate agent. I mean, that's what an NBA agent is, right? I'm trying to get you into the exact right spot that you want, that's going to make you happiest. I'm going to do my best. And it can be a little bit, what's the the Flipper show, where it's just like, well, the guy's like, I want to live by the ocean and I want to be downtown and I don't want to spend any money. It's like, well, you kind of can't have everything. So we're just going to work on the best situation. We're going to try and put you in that spot. And even
Flipper
then,
like House Flipper. I was thinking Flipper like the dolphin.
Not the dolphin.
No,
House Flipper.
Sorry, I was very confused.
Yeah. So it's like you can want all these things. You can prefer all these things. Unfortunately, you know what? Cooper Flagg, maybe Dallas is a bad example, but there have been a lot of guys who were the number one overall pick who said, oh, I don't want to go to that team. That team's bad. It's like, yeah, that's why they have the number one pick. That's why they are where they are. I'm sure you would rather go in the 20s where the Miami Heat are always drafting, or where the Lakers are traditionally drafting, or where some of these teams, the Spurs, even though they had the number 2 pick last night, where the teams who win a lot are generally going. But if you're a top pick, you're not going to get those types of teams. And then, as we've talked about a lot, as he will learn very quickly, Washington, I mean, nobody had a worse night last night than the New Orleans Pelicans. Those actually aren't places you want to go. Those aren't environments you want to be in. And I'm not saying the cities. I'm just saying the teams. The culture of those teams is not great. So he will adjust to Utah very quickly. I went back and I rewatched the Ace Bailey selection of the draft last night because I saw it blown up a lot and we were doing our show, so I couldn't watch it. Oh, man, he looked so miserable. And I just didn't see that at all. I just think people are projecting something they want to project on Ace Bailey that absolutely was not there.
Which I find that stuff annoying. And honestly, the storyline of are you happy to be in Utah will now never go away and is going to be annoying for the foreseeable future. Did you see, again, we didn't watch the broadcast because we were doing our own, but did you see what the Toop floated out there, Toop Myers?
No.
That the Jazz may have assured Bailey that they were going to take him, that they may have given him that assurance, which actually I thought, because Ace's answer when asked about it, and he said, I had no idea they were interested in me, kind of stood out as, God, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So maybe that was sarcastic, like, yeah, they told me they were going to draft me. And all this shenanigans was to get them to pass on me because they told me that they were going to draft me, and lo and behold, they drafted me.
Yeah.
So that would actually make some sense to me.
And I believe in the smokescreen aspect of it, with all the Jeremiah Fears noise that was going on, that a lot of people went into the night not thinking the Jazz had the guts or the willingness to draft Ace Bailey if they weren't positive he wanted to be here, and they pulled the trigger anyways. So nobody trades up to 4 to get him before they can. So
maybe, I mean, it's all out there, but something tells me that he was aware of the Jazz interest in selecting him, and that's why that answer was so bizarre. I mean, all you have to say is, like, I think I'm a really good player. I'd like to think everybody was interested in me.
Yeah. I'm really curious. I'm curious if he had worked out for the 76ers, if they would have taken him. You know, he famously booked a workout and then backed out of it and then refused to go to one. I'm curious if they had seen him up close and felt confident that he was okay with the situation. Had he just gone number 3 overall, maybe he wouldn't have. Maybe they still would have gone with VJ Edgecombe. Had he gone to Charlotte, would he have gone over Con Knipple? I don't know. We won't ever know that. But the fact that the Jazz got him at 5 without bringing him in for a workout, again, I think gets a little overblown. They didn't work out Walter Clayton either. They said that. You know, he came on our airways and told us he didn't work out in Utah. So they've got the intel. They've watched these guys. They know who they are. They talk to them at the draft combine. You know, you get a chance to sit down with all these players. That's why the NBA combine has value. You get to go and actually sit and talk to these players. They don't scrimmage. You get their measurements, but you get to sit down and talk to them for X amount of time. And if you're in the lottery, I suspect you get the lottery picks a little bit longer, and you get to get comfortable with them and who they are as people, and you talk to their agents. And I don't think the Jazz went into this blind. I don't think the Jazz went into this guessing that, like, we just don't have any idea how this is going to turn out.
No, the Jazz need a star, and they had to draft somebody with star potential. And he has that. And, you know, on the other 2 teams that could have potentially picked him before the Jazz, I thought you made a really great point on the show last night that, you know, if Ace wants to be a star, Philly's probably not the spot for him.
Yeah, it'd be hard for him to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a role player in Philly for the foreseeable future, you know, and that might not be the ideal landing spot for somebody like him. Maybe that's why they canceled the workout in Philly. You know, you really never know. And then Charlotte, listen, somebody who's familiar with the area, they got a Duke guy right there on their board. They're going to take the Duke guy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
they're going to college basketball is such a big part of that community that honestly that's going to set somebody, if all things are equal and you can take the Duke guy, you're going to take the Duke guy because it's a victory, and this is a new ownership group who needs a PR win, and even if the guy turns out to stink, nobody's going to be mad about it because he's a Duke guy. And everybody wants him to be the guy. You know how even media members latch on to players that they say, oh, the Jazz or whomever should have taken this player, and then they follow that player for every second because they somehow attached their own identity to that guy?
Yeah.
Desmond Bain, for example. You know what I mean? The Doak Desmond draft, where everybody still brings it up, probably on a daily basis. Like, well, if it were me, I would have taken Desmond Bain.
Right.
And loved to take that victory lap. Everyone in Charlotte wanted him to take Knipple.
Right.
Every fan wanted him to take that. So that means that even if he washes out, nobody's really that mad about it.
Yeah. Because
that was their guy. I'm not shocked at all that they stayed there and they took Knipple. It's a win there regardless. So I don't know. I don't know. That's interesting. I wonder if this was some sort of play to get him to drop, and he probably knew himself he's not dropping any further than 5.
I haven't seen this yet from ESPN, but Legion Hoops on Twitter is reporting this is from ESPN, and they said that Washington and Charlotte, remember Charlotte was drafting 4th, and Washington was 6th. It says Washington and Charlotte plan to swap picks to allow the Wizards to draft Ace Bailey at 4. But the Hornets were afraid that Knipple would have been gone to the Jazz at 5. So they didn't want to drop back to 6 because they didn't know what the Jazz were going to do, which is exactly the Jazz's job.
Because they wanted the Duke guy.
Right. Charlotte wanted the Duke guy.
The Charlotte couldn't miss out on the Duke guy.
And the Jazz don't let you know, are we going to take Ace Bailey here or not? Because if the Jazz reveal they're going to take Ace Bailey, then, Washington has to move up to number 4 to get him. And Charlotte doesn't know what the Jazz are going to do at 5, so they don't feel comfortable dropping back down to 6 because they don't know if the Jazz are going to take Knipple, which is why you don't let this stuff leak, which is why you don't let anyone know what your board is, because you actually, maybe you have Ace Bailey at 3 on your board. Maybe you have Knipple at 2 on your board, but you don't let anyone know that because you don't want them to know who you're taking at 5 because it doesn't allow people to maneuver around you forward or backward, and that's the benefit for the Jazz there.
That's the game.
Yeah, that's the game.
That's the game.
Right. So pretty interesting maneuvering, especially considering that's Austn Ainge's first draft as the number 1 guy, as the signal caller. So an interesting draft, a fun draft for the Jazz, and then Walter Clayton he's gonna have a lot of fans in Utah really quickly.
Yeah, everybody's really high on him. You think he could, in fact, be the point guard? I don't know about right off the bat. You didn't say that, but he can be the dude pretty quick.
I just think the tools that he has, which the Jazz need, is a guy who makes shots, is really, really valuable. The Jazz really just don't have enough shot makers. They have a lot of shot takers. They don't have a lot of guys who make shots.
But here's what I don't get is why is he at 18 then? That's what that, and I tried not to bring it up too much on the show, but that just kept coming up in my mind, and maybe that's because I'm a cynic. But if all that is true, why is he still around at 18?
The drawbacks are that he's a little bit small. And he's 22. I mean, that's just the concern. And those guys don't always make it, But when they do hit, they can have long runways in the NBA. So, why did Damian Lillard fall even to the point where he fell? Like, he was awesome in college. He shot the cover off the ball and was little and, didn't play a lot of defense, but kind of a passer, kind of not a passer. I think they're just kind of the questions of, like, what does this look like? Like, what do we compare this to in the NBA? And sometimes those get hard for guys, and I think it's hard to imagine exactly how this is going to fit, which is funny to me because if you watch him at Florida, it just looks like an NBA team. But, yeah, we'll see. And, again, all of these are a risk. That's the other part I think is important to recognize, especially with Ace Bailey. He's a risk. Of course he's a risk. If he wasn't, he would have gone number 1 overall. If teams knew how good he was going to be and could see into the future, he would have gone higher or he would have gone way lower. We don't know what he's going to turn into. But what the Jazz didn't do last night is they did not reach on Ace Bailey by any means. The guys drafted right behind him, Trey Johnson, Jeremiah Fears, Colin Murray-Boyles, whoever's in that next group of 4 or 5 players.
Egor Demin.
They are equally as flawed as Ace Bailey is. And maybe not, and probably not as rawly talented. They probably don't have as much just natural skill as he has. Plus, he's got this physical body. Like, the Jazz didn't just draft a physical freak with no basketball skills. They got a good combination of basketball skills and measurables to go at 5. And had they taken Trey Johnson, you would have said, yeah, he's got all these flaws. He doesn't play any defense. Questions about his passing. Doesn't get into the paint. Had they taken Jeremiah Fears, we talked about it a lot last night. He's 6'2". He doesn't finish when he gets in the paint. He can't shoot threes at all. It's like, I don't think Ace Bailey is a more flawed basketball player than anybody else taken between 6 and 30 last night. So I think they got truly high upside player, best player available, with the right type of measurables.
To put it a different way, I agree, but they don't have to sell anything with Ace. And get where I'm coming. Like, when they drafted Trey Burke, they really had to sell it that he's a winner.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really good at anything.
Right.
Like, he wasn't an elite dribbler or passer or shooter.
Yeah.
And he was teeny. He was small and all this stuff.
But there was some intangible
They had
winner.
to sell it as, this guy's a winner. This franchise needs that winner, whatever.
Mentality.
Dante Exum, you had to sell that he's going to learn to shoot. Yeah, we know we can't shoot now, but, I mean, look at the speed and the size and all this stuff, and, that's going to be something to come around. Taylor Hendricks, honestly, you had to sell like he's underskilled, but all the other things are there. So as soon as he gets that skill, man, the sky's the limit. And really, you have to do this for – I'm not trying to be unfair to the Jazz and their previous picks. It's just you have to do that with players because most players in the draft are super flawed.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that you have to, like, sell it with this dude. Like, the ceiling is there. He's super skilled. He's huge. The only thing I guess you have to, sell it is that he's not going to want to be here. And I don't know. You understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Usually, I mean, like Enes Kanter, you even had to sell it. Like,
right.
The offensive skills. Maybe he's not laterally quick and undersized a little bit. But, boy, you've seen that move and this. And Coach Calipari loves him to death.
Right. The intel we got was off the charts or whatever.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And there's really not any of that with this. Like his game, while not – he hasn't arrived by any means. But, I mean, if he goes at a natural development process in the NBA, I mean, he's going to be really good. No,
this isn't the Jazz trying to be smarter than anybody in the room. In fact, I think it's not the opposite. They're not being the dumbest guy in the room. They're just not overthinking it. It's a huge player with a ton of skill. Great. Nothing to sell there. That's the sell. That's what you're excited about. So I think a strong spot for the Jazz to be in after last night. Jeremy, what were your thoughts? You excited about it?
Are we talking about hockey?
Hey, there's a big trade in hockey too.
Yeah, it's been busy
today with the Mammoth. We're actually going to get to that coming up next. But hey, thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming out. We always love seeing you guys.
So we want to talk a little patio doors.
We love patio doors.
Patio doors to fit lifestyles. Like Ben wants to throw big kegger parties and wants to, really have his house accessible.
But I also want to be in bed and being able to see it from the inside of my house out.
Can you find a door for that?
We can. We love patio doors. Some of the best time right now is to use your patio doors. People are outside grilling, outside in their backyard with their pools, their yard, just soaking it up. You want to walk through your patio door with a smile. And I go into many people's homes that still have a broomstick holding their sliding glass door shut, and they have to wrestle it like a bear to open it. Let's change that. We can easily put in really good operating patio doors. We can make them larger, make them so you can see your yard, see the outside nature, make it an inside-outside living.
I think a lot of people listening, we say patio doors, and like two different styles come to mind. And I think that's the myth, is that there's only, there's either like kind of the French door style or there's the sliding glass door style. That's all you have the options for.
Yeah.
And that's just totally false. You need to come into Peach Doors and Windows. You need to come to the showroom because there are, dozens plus custom options that you guys can make.
Oh, absolutely. Some people just have room for a single door. And if that's the case, we can change that out, maximize the viewing space that you have on it. And ultimately, again, make it so when you're carrying that tray of, fresh grilled barbecue food in or out, that you're not tipping it over, dropping it on the floor, hitting the door frame as you're walking through. We can maximize that, open it up, and.
Oh man, I can identify with that. Nothing worse than juggling the
One
tray.
hand.
And
why did I put my
door
keys in
and
the far
jostling
pocket?
with the door? Yeah, like what am I doing here? Are you serious? I'm about to dump all this food right onto the ground.
Yep.
And then pick it up and put it back and hope my family didn't
Hope
notice.
nobody saw that.
Yeah, really hope for that. That doesn't have to be life anymore, Ben.
Yeah, don't settle with the builder grade, door that you have in your home. We can upgrade it. We have pricing affordable for all different ranges of doors. We sell luxury, but we also sell some standard doors that can really make an improvement on your home.
801-566-1255, that is the number. And you guys will come out and help with ideas and stuff like that, too.
Absolutely.
If people are
We love
kind of
it.
up in the air, you're creative and do it all the time.
Yep.
801-566-1255, or simply join us 2940 South 300 West here in Salt Lake. Appreciate you joining us.
Hey, thank you guys.
We'll get to the hockey next.
Sounds good.
Yeah. More next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Joined now by Rafael Barlow, Director of Scouting for NBA Big Board.
So excited for college basketball to start around here because the AJ DeBonce is going to play for BYU. This year a lot was made on tanking. I think we're going to see it again. What do you think?
I spoke with a college coach that was at the Team USA camp. He said that AJ has taken it up to another level. My question was, do you think he was bored in high school last year? He said, absolutely. He said AJ should petition the league right now because he would be the best player in this draft if he entered right now. I'm not a fan of tanking, but it does make sense to tank, especially for a talent like that. If you're a fan base like Utah, you may not want to do it again because you haven't had much success with it. But AJ's special.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are live from Peach Doors and Windows. Come see us, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake at Peach Doors and Windows. Super excited to be out here. Want to remind you to join Hans and Scotty coming up this afternoon from noon to 3 at My Hearing Centers, 8941 South, 700 East in Sandy. It's time for the top 3 stories of the day. KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, still reeling after a busy night last night. Let's get the rest of your guys' thoughts on the first round of the NBA draft.
I'm worried about the New Orleans Pelicans. I wonder if Joe Dumars is the new pigeon in the NBA that everyone realized, we've got an idiot on our hands. Let's take advantage of this guy.
Well, that trade was a dreadful trade. To move up from, 23 to 13, so move up 10 spots to take Derek Queen from Maryland, who I'm sure is a fine prospect.
Yeah.
But to give up an unrestricted first-round pick next year, the better pick out of the Pelicans and the Milwaukee Bucks pick.
Not just one, which, if you know you're going to be good, I don't care if I give up an unprotected pick. That's fine. But the fact that there's 2 teams betting that one of them could fall off and you don't get it either way is a real mess.
It's a bizarre trade.
Yeah, and look, if there's some control, like you certainly just hope that that Giannis doesn't ask out and Milwaukee competes again and they're in the late teens, early 20s, and that pick doesn't mean anything. But, what do we think the upside is for the Pelicans next year? What's best case scenario? The problem is you have no idea because the thing that controls that is the most unpredictable player in the NBA in Zion Williamson. Yeah, if he plays 80 games, you're probably going to be okay. He never does that. So what are you confident in that you're not going to be picking 6th or 7th again next year? Because Derek Queen doesn't change that. Jeremiah Fears doesn't change that. These guys you got last night don't help you win tomorrow. So you better have something lined up to make sure that this pick isn't going to be bad. And then you're still hoping Milwaukee figures it out.
Maybe this is like a Cortez kind of thing. You burn your ships. Okay. You have no choice.
Right.
Hey, you're going to be good.
We are going to go for it.
There is not an alternative here. You're going to go out there, be good, or we're all out of here. I don't know. That was the bizarre move. The biggest reach was on what are we calling him? Hanson Yang?
Everyone said Hanson Yang. They said Young Hanson yesterday, but everyone calls him Hanson Yang.
So let me ask you this: have you been following the NFL collusion story?
A little bit, yeah.
Where they 1,000% colluded to stop giving quarterbacks guaranteed deals.
Mm-hmm.
There was slideshow presentations and stuff. It was the NFL. It was Roger Goodell basically telling teams not to do this anymore.
Players.
Yeah, which really you're not supposed to be able to do.
Right, absolutely.
Probably illegal.
Yeah.
Here's my theory for you. This is the NBA's play to get back on TV in China.
Listen, Portland, next year, we'll give you the number 1 overall
Whatever.
pick.
You're biting this bullet this year.
You've got to take him.
Middle of the first round. Why was he there? He was there.
Yeah.
Why would he have been? Why would he have been there?
Right.
He's a prospect that's not even close to the first round.
Right.
Look at this. Portland, their games next year, back on TV over there.
Yeah, it was shocking. That was by far the most shocking.
That's my theory.
He probably went up 20 spots. And no, honestly, so my thought going into the night was, I wonder if a team will just take Hansen Yang based on the fact that it just does wonders for your social media. And that's just too harebrained of an idea. It's too cute. Okay, yeah, you get all of the Chinese followers. Great, and that's it. Obviously, it's a huge population, and they follow basketball. They're huge basketball fans. It's a huge culture over there. So, yeah, you get those followers, but it's not like you make that much money off of it necessarily. But when they reached at 16 or whatever it was, I was just like, okay, this is just truly bizarre.
Yes, it is that much money.
It is.
And if you don't believe that, go watch the South Park episode about all this stuff.
Yeah.
The access to the Chinese market is something that all American companies
it's why every American movie is the way it is now. It's designed to have a second run in China that makes it a lot more money. So, yes, there is value there.
The mouse is buried Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. But you would hope NBA teams are drafting to get better. And I don't know. The Portland was an interesting spot because they have young talent everywhere. They have good players kind of sprinkled across their roster. But if you go and you trade for Drew Holiday, which is a win-now move, to take the guy who's at least ready to help you win now of all of these players in the draft, and Hansen Yang was very strange. So it's fun. He'll get a lot of eyeballs. But, yeah, interesting move. By the way, you know what I thought last night, which is not necessarily great for you, so I apologize. Ace Bailey being on the Jazz alone is going to get them national TV games next year. He's like that type of a draw. There's going to be so many eyeballs on the Salt Lake City Summer League up at the Huntsman Center this year, which starts a week from Saturday. And the Jazz will get an ESPN game and Amazon games and whatever because people want to see Ace Bailey play. He's that type of draw.
You got to bring this up now?
8:30 games.
That's
what I'm saying.
Up.
You're getting some 8:30
10 o'clock
games
hour
tonight.
on the day after the draft. You got to bring up the 8:30 games?
But he's that type of draw. I mean, you want eyeballs. Yes, Hansen Yang probably going to draw more eyeballs internationally, but nationally, Ace Bailey will do that for the Jazz.
And it's 8 o'clock net, 8:30. If this new TV deal moves it back to 8:30, I'm going to be bent.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how quickly Amazon can get through some of these national broadcasts.
Oh, we know a guy, though, at Amazon now. So
yeah, we do.
Maybe we have some sway over there to not pick up Jazz.
Perhaps. Speed it up.
Start it on time, huh?
Yeah.
Let's make that happen. Any other thoughts on the draft? Brooklyn made all 5 of their picks for some reason.
We're going to talk about Brooklyn coming up at 3, so we'll do that then with Egor.
All right, next.
Number 2, it wasn't just a busy night for the Jazz. The Utah Mammoth got going. We had a big trade last night.
Yeah, I was legitimately curious. If you watched some of the War Room stuff for the Jazz last night, you saw Ryan Smith in there. I was like, did Bill Armstrong and Chris Armstrong knock on the draft war room for the Jazz and be like, Ryan, we got a trade that we need to do right in the middle of the draft. Is that okay? Can you sign off on this? He had a busy night, but the Utah Mammoth landed J.J. Peterka from Buffalo, 23 years old, forward, 68 points last year. If you don't know, and I had to talk to Cole about this last night because I was curious what all this means, Buffalo is just one of those terrible franchises. They're just the franchise that drafts guys and then no one wants to be there, so they have to trade off all their good players to go somewhere else. And the Mammoth said, okay, we'll take your good players. And they had to send our guy, who we got to talk to at Hockey Cleanout, Michael Kesselring. They had to send him out. And then Josh Doan, who's the son of Shane Doan, the legend of the Arizona Coyotes, who I thought had a fun year last year. So they did have to send some talent back. But you look anywhere across the internet and everyone is saying, that's all the Mammoth had to give up for Peterka? That seems to be very lopsided in Utah Mammoth's favor.
So I consulted my hockey guy.
Okay.
Who actually happens to be from Buffalo and is a big Sabres fan. So I thought I'd reach out to him. But he's actually really dialed into the hockey community, even though he works in a different industry. Anyway, he was telling me that Peterka wanted out of Buffalo.
Wanted out.
He was not going to remain in Buffalo. He actually thinks that Buffalo fans are a little too upset because Doan and Kesselring make them a little tougher, and that their problem, Buffalo's, is that
softy cakes.
They're soft.
Yeah.
And he actually said Peterka is going to be a top line guy, maybe line 2. He's might be the fastest guy on the Mammoth now. The guy can really fly, but he is not the tough guy.
And not a defensive player at all.
No.
So where you have kind of those guys who play both sides of the puck really well, he is an offensive specialist.
So I got the impression that this isn't quite as one-sided as maybe people are making it seem, but also Buffalo, they had to do something, basically.
Yes, they had to get rid of him. He was not going to sign an extension with them. So they were going to lose him. So they had lost all their leverage, and then as Christian just told us, he signed a 5-year deal just under $40 million, which again I'm just so NBA pilled that I'm like, that's it. That's $8 million a year. That's a very high salary for hockey. It's a big number in hockey. So, but another young piece, and that's the thing I think that's really interesting. We looked at some of these like free agent spending options for the Utah Mammoth, and like some of the names out there. It's like these guys are 30, like 31. It's like, that's fine. You can have older players, but this guy's 23. Peterka's coming in. Like he is right there with Cooley. He's right there with Dylan Gunther. He's a little younger than Clayton Keller. So as you build up this roster, plus they've got the number 4 overall pick tomorrow. They still have Tijik Inla coming in. They've got Kobo Duan coming in. They've got a lot of exciting players on this roster, and he fits right in with that.
They need a goalie.
Yeah, they've got Veg.
Yeah, not a starting goalie. They need a backup.
They need a backup.
You remember Veg played for 3 months straight at the end of the year?
He did not. He never left the ice.
Someone had to tell him the season was over. He's like, wait, what?
Blacked out.
Just been out here for so long. I had no idea.
Cool weekend. Exciting. It's funny to, think back at, 2 years ago if you had said, the Jazz got Ace Bailey when he was coming out of high school. He was the highest recruit. And the hockey team had the 4th overall pick. You'd be like, what hockey team? And how did the Jazz get Ace Bailey? You wouldn't have believed it. So a pretty exciting weekend, I think, if you're part of the SCG group, especially owners Ryan and Ashley. I think they might have cooked a little bit last night.
All right, what's next?
Number 3, BYU star Egor Demin goes to Brooklyn at the 8th overall pick.
One of 3 guards that they drafted, and they made all 5 picks.
All 5.
That was strange. Certainly not what anyone expected.
Well, what are they doing as a franchise? I'm guessing they're in a similar spot where the Jazz are, where they get a bunch of young players on the team. You don't really care about winning games anyway, so why not?
They drafted Egor Demin, number 8 overall, which some people think was a reach. Time will tell. They drafted Nolan Traore. They drafted Ben Saroff. They drafted Danny Wolf. And I think they drafted Drake Powell.
Thank goodness. Drafting Danny Wolf, that was a mercy draft.
That guy looked wrecked to still be on the board late.
Okay, ESPN. I said this last night on the broadcast. Just, do you have to film constantly a person in their worst moment?
Right.
I mean, this guy is just full of anxiety that he's dropping, and he's not, all of a sudden his future is changing before his very eyes.
Yeah.
And he's emotional about it. And some buffoon with a camera is right up in his business, like,
Mom, move out of the way.
Yeah, we've got to catch this emotional moment or something. It's like, you ghoul. And by the way, the NBA should absolutely cut down on how many players that they have invited.
That was
to
my
thing.
big takeaway. Dropped to 13.
Yeah.
We don't need 25 players or 23 players. You had guys who didn't get drafted that were in the green room. It's really hard.
13 might even be too much.
But you should have at least a pretty decent confidence in who those guys are. You can pick 13 guys that are going to go in the first round, and I'm with you. That could still be too high.
And is it just ego that the very pale Adam Silver has to shake hands and pose for pay? Is it just his fragile ego?
Yeah.
Why does it even matter?
Because, yes, while maybe you made, Yannick Noah, the guy who got drafted 30th overall by the Clippers.
Yannick was the old man.
Now, he was the...
Oh, you're not talking about Joe Keefe. There's actually a Yannick Noah.
No, the kid who got drafted out of Penn State. I have to look up his name fully. But, he wasn't even in the green room. He was just kind of sitting in the stands.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
But, okay, that's cool. You took a gamble, and he went to the draft, and it paid off for him. But, the guys who sit there and watch everyone go, and they're not on the board, or they don't get
Yannick Niederhauser?
Yannick Niederhauser.
That's not Noah.
No, I'm mixing up, obviously, Yannick Noah there.
No, it was a famous tennis player.
That's equally crushing and probably less valuable for those guys overall.
That was funny that he just came down out of the stands.
Yannick,
I wasn't
Conan, even Niederhauser.
Right. I wasn't even invited to this thing. I was just chilling here.
Yeah.
I just had a beer.
Howell Neto did the same thing when the Jazz drafted him. He's like, I'm here. Let me get down on the stage.
But the truth is that ESPN loves filming the crush. Did you see Danny Wolf's brother?
Yeah.
I mean, that was unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. Have you ever cried so much that your face looked like that?
No.
I have, and I'll tell you what I didn't want was to be on national television.
Yeah. So interesting. Good for Egor. Good for BYU. Getting a top 10 pick is very rare. It's unique, especially at our schools locally. It hasn't happened in a little while. So cool there, and we'll see how he plays in Brooklyn. Actually, I kind of like that they took some other guards that can take some of the pressure off of him. There's going to be a lot of guys to handle the ball and a lot of guys who are going to get opportunities there, and he doesn't have to come in and score right away and do everything right away. The fact that they had so many picks gives him a little bit of a softer landing, which I think will benefit him.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think Brooklyn is going anywhere, so he should have plenty of opportunity to develop, 100%.
Yep.
And he was really good at the end of the year. I think people were a little too hard on him for the way he started the year, but by the end of the year, he was great.
Yeah, he had the great non-conference, really rough Big 12, and then had a really good tournament.
Yep.
So.
On a good team.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned. Live from Peach Doors and Windows, 2940 South, 300 West. You can also give them a call, 801-566-1255. We'll tell you more about them. Coming up next, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
BYU jumped into the Big 12 for their own game, and they're going to get theirs. And they got their money together, and they got the recruiting together, and they came in all cute and happy, like, we're just grateful to be a partner. Oh, our broadcast, we're one of two in this country that can run our own broadcast. Hey, we'll be cool with it. Whatever bone you can throw us. And, what's that? 4 years integration to full revenue? Okay, that's fine, whatever. And then it's like, bam, we're going to take the number one recruits. We're going to sign 5 stars. We're going to get in the game with money, and we're going to compete. We're going to go from a 13th pick to the number 3 team in the Big 12, and we're here to make this nasty. So what do you know about Amway? Can I sign you up? Or
Can
what?
I get 3 people under you and let's all make some money?
Because I'm looking for diamond status. I'm here to freaking compete.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, live from Peach Doors and Windows, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake City. Ben, tomorrow we're going to be broadcasting from the X Games, which I am actually really looking forward to. I'm sure you are too. This is.
Think I should bring my skateboard?
This is your people. Yeah, you should.
Out of the way, the town's
Go show
here.
them.
All right, old man.
Go show them what you're made of, dude.
Your bones are brittle.
I want to see it.
You're
That's
weighted to the
Lloyd bringing
ground.
his bat to the batting cages.
Yeah, right.
Which he did.
To be fair, his kids were there playing. But yes, Lloyd did bring his bat to the batting cage.
And David James used it for a while and was raking.
That's what I heard.
He was hitting homer after homer. Oh, you didn't see David?
No, I got there a little bit later.
Oh,
so.
it took David about 10 pitches to get kind of the
Caught
feel
up.
of it, and then was just hammering that
Wow.
ball. But let's give away some tickets to the X Games. 801-575-ZONE. You're going to get a pair of tickets to the X Games for tomorrow, including the concert featuring Deadmau5. So there you go. 801-575-ZONE, caller number 12, and you're going to get a pair of tickets to go see the X Games coming up tomorrow. And while you're there, just drop by and see us. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to be.
I have no idea where we're going to be.
But we're going to be there somewhere, so come find us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But today we are at Peach Doors and Windows, 2940 South, 300 West here in Salt Lake. Jeremy's jumping on with us once again. We talked a little patio doors in the first segment. Let's talk, should we go entry doors?
Entry doors. We love entry doors also.
Patio doors are nice because your friends are in the house and you're like
Right.
showing them the backyard. But the entry doors is the real sell. That's everyone can see it.
That's your first impression.
Yeah.
When someone pulls up to your home, that says a lot about your home. What's inside? Is your front door welcoming?
Right.
Or is it run down? Is it? Do you have to put your shoulder into the door every time you lock or
Do you have
unlock
to pull it to lock it?
Yeah. No, that's not how a front door should be. We want it to be. We can have doors be charming, stunning. Just simple, but operate how they should.
Ben is very. Let's put this to the test. Ben is very pretentious. I mean, very pretentious. Wants
Clearly.
his neighbors to feel bad about themselves on a daily basis. What door should he install?
We have plenty of doors that will make your neighbors envious. And you can have a one-of-a-kind custom wood door. That no one else is going to have in the entire state. We can build it custom for you can sketch it on a napkin, we can build it.
Ben wants a door that says, I'm better than you.
But not subtly. I wanted to say it
subtly to say it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? And the safety aspect of it is a big part of it. And
Yep.
I think that's something a lot of people are concerned of. And we've talked about the swatting video of you had a client who police showed up at the wrong house and tried to break the door down, and they had to take turns with the battering ram.
Yeah, they handed
it
it off.
didn't work. They couldn't get it down. And you know what the part of that story I love is that, yeah, they got a custom door for you guys, and when they needed it replaced because there was some damage under the door, they were still able to call you, and you guys knew what they were looking for, and you could come and replace it for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're happy to help with all different fashions. And again, we have different price ranges of doors, affordable, high-end, luxury, or just a simple replacement to get your door working again so you don't have to put that shoulder into it.
And come see for yourself, by the way, 2940 South, 300 West. If you can't make it down during the show, come down and see it, and you guys can show them all.
We'll
all
walk
the
you
different
through
stuff.
the whole process.
So cool. Also, free in-home estimates, 801-566-1255, 801-566-1255. It's Peach Doors and Windows. Thanks, Jeremy. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to let you hear from Austn Ainge coming up right around the corner, and I'm curious to get Ben's reaction to what's coming out of the front office. So stay tuned for that. Live from Peach Doors and Windows, Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Take the Zone with you wherever you go. Download the KSL Sports app to get live streaming of your favorite shows.
Downloading.
Download the latest podcasts and get all the latest breaking news on the teams you can't live without. Everything you need delivered right to your phone.
Let's go get them where we can get them.
Just search KSL Sports on your app store of choice. Download it now. The KSL Sports app, presented by University of Utah Health.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are live from Peach Doors and Windows today. We are very excited about it. Come see us, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. Come through the door and just hit us right away with your scorching hot Jazz take. What'd you think of the draft? 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. It's Peach Doors and Windows. You can always call. Get a free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255. Peach Doors and Windows. Want to remind you to join JJ and Alex today at RGS Exteriors from 3 to 6, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. All right, Ben. Let's hear from the president of basketball operations, shall we? Austn Ainge, his first draft with the Utah Jazz. And a lot of people think it's a pretty good one. Made the bold choice to stay at number 5 and had Ace Bailey land in their lap.
But they didn't reach. I think that's an important point. This is a guy who, if anything, he fell to them. But I don't think the Jazz can be argued that they reached for anybody in this draft.
I think they should have taken Hanson Yang myself. But I know not many people probably are on board with that.
Portland is. Portland's on board with you.
Well, get on TV in China.
Even they traded back to get him. So they were at 11.
Well, if you have to swallow the poison pill, you're not going to do it with a high pick.
Sure. You draw the secret lottery on lottery night was not who wins number 1. It's who wins Hanson Yang.
Who has to take
Hanson? It's like, we're a lottery team.
The Blazers are like, oh, are you serious? Well, we're trading back.
Fine. We'll take him. But we're not taking him at 11.
All right. Let's hear from Austn Ainge, Jazz president of basketball operations.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Nice to meet some of you in person for the first time. Very exciting night. 2 weeks ago, sat down and looked at our picks and said, what would be the best case scenario? And these were the 2 guys we really wanted. So we feel very fortunate, very excited to have them in the family.
Can you talk maybe about Sarah Todd, Desiree?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Sarah.
Can you talk maybe about your experience about guys who's, for whatever reasons, agent, management, etc., you don't have them come in for a workout?
Yeah, it's not super uncommon. Been through many times through the years. And, we were able to meet with Ace at the Combine and speak to him in person, and obviously saw him play a lot, being highly rated high school player and college player. So we got to see him quite a bit.
Was there any hesitancy, though, with, all the pre-draft process a lot of us surrounding him, but like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to play here, maybe not?
No. He's great. Was able to speak with him. He was super excited. We're super excited. We're expecting a very bright future.
I'm curious. He said, and Walter said too, that they didn't know that the Jazz were interested in them before tonight. And curious, like, is that a strategic move? That you kind of want to keep your interests close to the vest. And how do you decide kind of when to share your respect for a player?
Yeah, we don't like to tell. I mean, it's mostly agents you're dealing with, right? So we don't like to say who we're going to take for sure. It's just hard. There's trades and everything, and sometimes if you just kind of keep that information private, it's easier to maneuver around a little bit. So we don't try to tip our hand in advance.
Ace's game, tell us about what you like about what you think you can bring to the Jazz and what you hope his development path is for the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, Ace is extremely talented shot maker, big, long, athletic. His scoring gets a lot of attention, deservedly so. He's very skilled for his size, but watching a lot of film on him, I was impressed with his defensive effort, and particularly his rebounding. A lot of weak side block shots, and his joy and energy for the game. We do a lot of background calls and work on guys, and everyone loves being around Ace. He's fun, smiles every day, just a breath of fresh air in the gym.
Conversations, kind of people who are on league scouts, etc., people from Rutgers, it seems like Ace is maybe one of the less developed guys that's coming into the league, like not had as much basketball experience as some of the other guys, different programs and playing at high levels, etc. Does that make him seem like ultra moldable as he comes into the game?
I would disagree with that evaluation. I think sometimes with guys when they're rated number 1 or number 2 in high school and come in with all the fanfare that Ace and Dylan had at Rutgers, and there's a little disappointment in their season. They didn't win as many games as they were expected to. That expectations, basically the reality and expectations aren't quite matched up, and so there's a little bit harsher judgment. And the guy is pretty skilled and had some pretty big games this year. So I think I don't think he's further away or less developed than a lot of the other 18-year-olds toward the top of this draft.
Austn, hey, Sam Barnes with KSL Channel 5. Good to meet you. Anyway, Ace also mentioned that he has the ability to push his teammates to be the best they can, and the coaches. He's called himself an instant leader. Do you see him having that ability to be a leader right away?
I mean, it's always hard for rookies to be leaders. They have to learn what they're doing before they can help others. But like I said, I really believe in his energy and his spirit, and that is a way to lead, right? It may not be, guys, this is our defensive coverage, because most rookies I need to learn that. But it can be, let's get in the gym and let's play harder and let's fight through adversity. I think he does a lot of that naturally from me observing him from afar.
What do you like about Walter's game?
I had a chance to watch Walter a lot. Saw him play at Iona, and obviously we all saw him have a magical run this year. He is tough, smart, an amazing shooter, athletic, and mature. I mean, obviously you win as many games as he has, and you're an accomplished player already. It's been really fun for me to watch his progression. He's really gotten better as kind of an athletic kid learning the point guard position throughout college. He just got better and better and better at it every year, and that really impressed me. Just the arc.
What went into the decision then to kind of move up for him at 18 rather than him?
Yeah, it's impossible to know who likes a guy, right, and where they're going to go. Like I said, 2 weeks before the draft, we had these guys circled as this is our dream scenario, and so we started making calls. quite a bit before pick 21, where we were slated. We were worried, so we just were trying to move up kind of all along the line until at 18, Washington got an offer they liked, and we made the swap there. So that was how it went.
Do you have any sort of philosophy on guys that come into the league after spending 4 years in college versus ones that come in one and done?
I don't think there's any general rules. Everyone's on their own development path. We see players all the time in the NBA hit their peaks at 28 and find it at 24, and some guys find it at 21. It's just an individual journey.
Austn, I know you're absorbing what happened tonight, but does it set the table or change the arc moving forward for what comes next?
No, not really. I've said this before, so apologies, I may say it 100 more times, but we just kind of believe in stacking good decisions, just making good decisions over and over as best we can. And then you look up and you have a lot of good players and or assets or whatever you're trying to do. So we're just trying to make good decisions every day as best we can.
How was this draft different than, I guess, your other drafts that you've been a part of, being kind of the quote-unquote head decision maker?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier just acting really smart over there, saying you should do this. It's a lot easier. But no, like I said, this turned out how we wanted, and I've got a lot of very experienced and great help to help me through it.
What was the feeling in the room seeing the first 4 picks go the way that they went?
Yeah, it's kind of what we predicted before the draft, but you never really know. Everyone does media smoke screens and fake leaks and holds their cards close, and so you never fully know. But this was what we had projected in the last few days with what we'd heard, but you just never know until it happens. But we were very excited.
What were you able to learn about Ace at the combine, being able to talk to him?
I think more than any individual answer, it was just, again, his general personality, his positivity, his energy. He's got a youthful exuberance that's contagious. I actually interviewed him at the Combine when I was with Boston. I interviewed him with Boston's group, and then I was able to watch the recording of the Jazz interview also. So I get to see 2 interviews at least. But no, he was great.
Did you notice any difference in those?
Not really. Yeah. No. He, I think he probably had to do 12 or so of those. I'm sure. We ask generally the same questions. We're not journalists. We're not good at asking questions like you guys.
Are you expecting for both players to play in summer leagues, both summer leagues?
Yes.
It's interesting, Austn, that the very thing that some people were concerned about with Ace is something that you said is what drew you in to some extent.
What is that concern?
Personality, his attitude.
Oh no, I feel like I feel like that is pretty universal. I would say that if you talk to anyone who's been around Ace the last couple years in basketball, any of his teammates, coaches, they'd all say the same thing. This is not a unique perspective of ours. This is pretty universal.
To ask, over the last few days, there have been multiple rumors with you guys chasing after Jaylen Brown, and obviously you know Jaylen well, but is there truth to those rumors, and how are you approaching the next few days from a trade market point of view? I
don't like to confirm or deny rumors just as a policy, but I will this time. No, that hasn't happened. No conversations that way.
What positive changes do you see these 2 draftees making to your team?
Well, we hope they're really good at basketball. I mean, they got a lot of talent. They each can do different things, but both of them are very good shooters and scorers, and we hope that they develop and learn our system very quickly. But we understand it's a process with young guys, and so we just over the next couple years, we hope they can become really important pieces of our future.
All right, there you go. That's Austn Ainge, president of basketball operations for the Utah Jazz, after his first draft with the franchise. Interesting stuff there, Ben. I believe there was some noise around the Jaylen Brown thing.
It just sounds like there's been a lot of calls. And look, whether the Jazz, as Austn Ainge just said, were involved or weren't involved, he said they weren't. You make calls. Your job is to check around. And look, Austn has better relationships with Brad Stevens than anyone else in the NBA. And as does Danny. So, I'm sure they recognize what the availability would be if there was any. Neither here nor there. What I thought was telling there, and I think something we've been talking about a lot today, is just like, people are going to judge Ace Bailey on a different scale than you do some other players. When you come in as the number 2 recruit, you just have a type of expectation that you're held against that other players like maybe a Trey Johnson or certainly a Con Knipple, who was a top 40 recruit but not a top 3 recruit, are held to. And thus, I think the criticism of Ace Bailey is a lot harsher than it is with some of the other players that were drafted in the exact same range, just because they weren't.
What criticism?
What type of a player he was. And I'm not even talking about his pre-draft stuff. I'm just talking about like actually on the court, like the types of shots he took, the fact that Rutgers didn't win enough games, the fact that he was with Dylan Harper and they didn't find a way to produce, the mistakes he makes as an 18-year-old on the court. And these aren't off the court issues; these are on the court. The decisions he makes, missing reads, having a loose handle, playing a little bit too upright, not being great on or defensively all the time. It's like, I think he gets held to a standard of what you expect superstars to turn into in the NBA, and I think that what Austn Ainge there said was smart. And I don't know if enough people will hear it, but it's like, you can reel that back in. Like that's you're bringing something to your criticism that doesn't need to exist. Like you're bringing intercontextuality from something you expect to happen from a number 2 overall pick that probably isn't fair to ask of a guy right away. Now, that's not to say if you're a top 5 pick, you shouldn't be judged more harshly than a guy drafted in the 20s, but how you criticize them and what you expect them to be able to do as an 18-year-old shouldn't be that much different.
Okay, because there's difference between criticism and controversy.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yes.
I was once doing a show with Tony, and he told me, he goes, the 2 guys that I've always said that everybody's going to be wrong about is LeBron James and Tiger Woods. And it's like, nobody ever said that nobody ever criticizes LeBron or Tiger Woods. Just because they're controversial doesn't mean that's criticism. Does that make any sense? Just because Ace Bailey is controversial doesn't mean he's being criticized. I honestly, and you laid it out right there, some of the criticisms, but I hear very little about his on-court game, all that stuff being criticized. The controversy was generated from his behind-the-scenes, manipulation is such a strong word, but he was trying to control what he can control. Yep. And he said that. He was honest about it, honestly, which I can truly appreciate. He was trying to control what he wanted to control. And everybody wants to read into every word this guy says, which I do not think is fair. And I do not blame somebody, even if I don't truly approve of the methods, for trying to do what's within their own power to get what they want. And it is unfair if you really want to think about the true fairness issue that a draft exists in the first place.
Yeah.
The fact that they can force you to play or work somewhere where you don't want to work is actually kind of ugly if you think about it. But you certainly don't. My point is I don't know how much of the criticism is actually real or even relevant. You know what I mean? You're saying this guy gets criticized a lot. Does he? Or do people just not like it that his agent shut down a bunch of workouts, and he basically implied he only wanted to go certain places, which is never a popular thing amongst the basketball culture in general. So is he heavily criticized, or is he controversial?
And lately it's more controversy.
Because
these last couple of weeks have been more controversy.
Everybody, including the mouse himself on their stupid draft board last night, had him at 3.
Right.
Everybody.
Yes, best player available rankings, he was number 3 everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
For Draft Express or Windbag or whoever, Jay Billis or everybody had him at 3. And the narrative was that he's going to fall because of these red flags, not because he's the 5th best player, but because of the controversy. Not criticism, but controversy. And there's a big difference.
There is.
Nobody ever criticizes LeBron on the floor, including noted LeBron haters like myself. Like, there's not much you can argue with. He's a freight train out there, and he's won a ton of games, and he's played forever. You know what I mean? He doesn't get criticism. Occasionally, I love the who was it that said he didn't have any wiggle?
Was it Austn Rivers?
I think it was,
No
Austn.
hit, no bag.
That's the most criticism LeBron's ever gotten ever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Tiger Woods never was criticized.
Sure.
In fact, everybody just assumed he was better than Jack, even though his resume doesn't prove that to this day.
Sure.
But everybody gave him the benefit of the doubt because he was the great Tiger Woods and Tiger Slam and all this stuff. But he was controversial.
Yeah.
People misunderstand that. I don't know how criticized Ace Bailey is. I think it's actually the contrary.
Okay.
But you laid out some examples. I'm not trying to say that those don't exist because they obviously do, and you're right. I've heard the shot selection thing.
Of course.
I've heard
and you will hear it more now.
Right.
That will be where the criticism shifts.
All of that.
Yeah.
But those criticisms for a college player are dumb.
And then along the line, I totally agree with you. And as I've been trying to say, if you're criticizing him for that, it's not like you can't level the same criticisms at Trey Johnson and Jeremiah Fears, and not identical, but equal criticisms of their game and why they may work out and why they may fail. It's not like the Jazz reached on Ace Bailey at number 5, other than he may have preferred to go 6, 7, or 8. The other part of it that Austn Ainge addressed that I thought was interesting was the workout aspect. And I think what we need to realize is how not rare this is, that guys don't work out in specific towns. And look, there are specific examples where guys try to get themselves places. We talked about Alexander Sarr, who was the number 2 overall pick last year, who refused to work out in Atlanta because he wanted to go number 2 overall to Washington, and it ended up working out for him. But as Austn said, they see this a lot. They draft guys who they haven't had in for workouts, and the timing didn't work out, or they didn't want to come to that city, or whatever. This is not the first time this has happened in Utah. It's happened to every single NBA team previously. You just miss guys. You don't get to get every guy in, or they have priorities, and you still draft them.
Well, and players used to work out with each other, which never happens anymore either.
Right.
Not that you don't bring in groups. I mean, the thing is, it all depends on your desperation to get drafted, right? People leverage it when they can. Ace Bailey can leverage that sort of thing because he's not going to fall to the second round. You know what I mean? But I remember the workout when Darren Williams came to town and worked out against Ray the Buffet Felton. Mm-hmm. That was like a really big deal. And those two traveled the country working out with one another.
Right.
That never happens anymore.
No, it
because
doesn't.
no agent wants his player to be measured with his direct competition.
Right, at the same position, certainly.
At the same time.
And then, if you're a high enough draft pick, it's a 1-on-0.
So nobody's going to agree to any of that ever anymore. And so it does lessen the value of the workout. But it comes back to the unfair labor nature of the draft.
Yeah.
Well, Ace Bailey's not going anywhere. He's going to be here whether he likes it or not for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. His option is the Jazz or don't play basketball in the United States.
Right.
That's your option.
Like that guy from Houston who couldn't get on a plane. What was his name?
Royce, what was it?
Isn't he like
Royce White?
He's like running for office or something.
Yeah,
now.
he's in Minnesota now. Royce White.
But yeah, his option was get on the plane or don't play. And he was like, well, I guess I'm not playing.
I guess I won't play. Right.
Which, hey, whatever. People have their thing. But
and then I almost worry that we've overblown the Ace Bailey to Utah stuff. We talked to him last night. We got him on the phone last night, and he played ball, and he was very nice about it. And I watched his interviews last night. He seemed very cordial about everything.
But the point is, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I am of the belief that he will get here and he will figure out that Salt Lake is as normal a place as anywhere else. And he can, if he's looking for a certain aspect of his personal life that he wants to embrace, I believe you can find it right here in Salt Lake City. And some people are just, Britton told me an eye-opening story once, Britton Johnson, when I was working with him. Like, he played overseas in Europe, and he made it a real point to get out. Like, he had a young family, and he wanted to get out.
Right.
Wherever he was, he wanted to embrace, and he was in some beautiful spots. I'm trying to remember, like Barcelona, and he was in some great, places that a lot of us would really want to go. He said a lot of his American contemporaries would never leave their room.
Right.
They were just miserable because they weren't wherever they're from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're in Barcelona, Spain?
Yeah.
One of the most cultured cities on the planet?
Right.
Cities people, dream their whole life to go to.
Yeah.
And you don't even want to walk outside because it's not
home.
Jackson, Mississippi, or whatever,
Right.
because it's not Des Moines.
Right.
And so you don't know people, like, you don't know what they're looking for or what they want, know? You don't know why he allegedly wanted to go to D.C. in the first place. Maybe his cousin lives there. Who knows?
Right.
And so I think that most people, not all, most people that eventually come to our community with somewhat of an open mind eventually are like, hey, this place is all right. Derek Favors got traded here when he was 19.
After going to Brooklyn, right? He did get to taste the big city and get to be in New York and get to have all of that with his
An Atlanta guy.
Yep.
Never left Atlanta much in his life.
Right.
Certainly hadn't had much experience in the western United States, let alone Salt Lake City. And it turned out to be a real place where he could thrive. And I would argue that, his evolution as a person, at least from my standpoint, was a pretty cool story. Right down to the point where he was uncomfortable in, his own presence at the beginning.
Right.
And at the end, he was like Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
He was cracking jokes and well-adjusted and all the things.
A Utah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that book has not been written. Although I did say, and I mean it, we're now going to focus on every syllable and every question. What do you think about Utah? What do you think about Salt Lake? Are you happy here? I watched it with Carlos Boozer.
Yep.
When this thing of is Carlos happy here got out early in his stay here.
Yeah.
And the guy had to answer that question 1,000 times a season for the rest of the time he was here.
You're right. That's the drawback. And, Donovan Mitchell had to answer that question starting in about 2019. And he was drafted in 2017. So if that ends up haunting Ace Bailey and, hanging over his head, that will be a narrative for a long time.
Especially here.
Yeah.
I don't know how much that is something somewhere else. I would guess in Oklahoma City, Shea has to answer it a zillion times a year, whether or not he's happy. Maybe it's just built in. But I am annoyed that storyline is going before
Agreed.
he even got to town.
Yep.
But there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to enjoy that great content, Ben.
Well, he can
Yes, I love it. It's great.
Yeah. Happy to be here.
So happy to be here. Oh, I love the mountains. Yeah, it's wonderful.
He played in high school against Isaiah Collier. They're both Atlanta guys. Or Georgia guys. They will figure it out.
All right, Jeremy's jumping on with us once again. We're here at Peach Doors and Windows, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. You can call them 801-566-1255. We've talked about doors quite a bit today.
Yep.
But let's talk a little windows, shall we?
Hey, I am really happy to be here, and I do love the mountains.
Absolutely.
And the cool thing about that is so many homes here in Utah have great views of the mountains through their windows.
I was thinking Ace Bailey's going to open up this morning. He's going to fly in today or maybe last night. Yeah, he's going to draw his shades. He's going to have his big, beautiful window. He's going to see the mountains. He's going to be like, okay, this is great. Okay, actually, this is totally fine. And that's something you can help offer our listeners.
Absolutely. We do all different types of windows, different materials, different colors. We have solutions for almost every home. But if your windows currently are leaking, foggy, drafty, your money is literally going out the window, pun intended. Take some of that money, let's save it, let's get you new windows.
This sounds like a weird question, but do you have a low opinion of most builders? And I ask this because, you see these homes, and you go in there and you see these homes with these little bunker windows or something like that, and these giant views, and be like, what was this builder thinking? What were they doing?
I don't know what the builders are thinking, but I know they're racing to the bottom dollar.
Yeah.
They want to put in the least expensive, easiest thing possible, and unfortunately for the homeowner, that sacrifices view, quality, energy efficiency. But you don't have to settle with that forever. We can do a really nice, affordable replacement window, give you larger view, give you better energy efficiency.
Again, this is a dumb question too, but let's say you're just going for kind of a simple replacement, not blowing out walls and stuff, but a pretty simple replacement. Is this like a crazy project where I have to move out of my house for a week and all that stuff?
No, and misconception is when we talk custom windows, people think, I'm going to be paying through my teeth forever. No, custom to us is that we're not pulling these windows off of a mass manufactured shelf
or a previous job.
We're coming out and we're measuring your windows down to generally the 16th of an inch. We'll build them for you, the color, the type of glass that you need in your home, the operation of them. So, and no, you don't have to move out or move into the basement. We can do it while you're living there. Very minimal disruption.
Because that's a big deal. I mean,
it's
kind of a jokey question, but no, it's a big deal. I mean, life disruption is a thing.
Yeah.
So
most window projects, we're in and out in a day or two, and we don't leave you exposed overnight where you have to worry about someone crawling through your windows. It's a very systemized process and quite a bit cleaner than most people would imagine. In fact, we get a lot of compliments how clean the process is.
And that's a big deal, too.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. 801-566-1255. That's the number to call. You guys will come out. If people want free in-home estimate, you can check out the project and give some ideas if needs be.
Absolutely. We'll walk you through the whole process, and just like the doors, we'll make it as easy as possible for you.
Right till you hand us off to a subcontractor, right?
No.
No, that's not.
We do in-house installs. We take you through the process. If something is needed, some contractor will walk you through that process, but we handle most of it here.
801-566-1255 or drop by the beautiful showroom. Really see it for yourself, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. It's Peach Doors and Windows. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks,
Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, more straight ahead. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Watching an unlikely champion like the Florida Panthers, they sucked forever. One of the most irrelevant pro sports franchises of the last 2 decades until 2022. They're the 8th seed, and they end up making a run to the Stanley Cup final. And ever since then, they've dominated this league. It takes time. The Panthers had to be patient. They got the right guy to lead it. It all came together for them. So now we're dreaming of a Stanley Cup here because we have an NHL team. You watch the Florida Panthers do it. The Stanley Cup going places that no one ever thought it would be. Why not here? Why not in Utah? You're thinking about, okay, what could the Utah Mammoth do to make this happen? And now it's a reality. Like, this is something the Mammoth can go do. And I think that Ryan Smith is going to be highly motivated to provide the resources to do it. And I think you got a general manager who could build a Stanley Cup championship team. The parts are in place here to be able to do something like this.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. What's that? Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, live from Peach Doors and Windows. Call them today, 801-566-1255, or simply drop by and see us, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. Peach Doors and Windows. It's time to get a little better perspective on the Jazz number 5 pick, Ace Bailey. Let's talk to someone who covered him in college, shall we? Host of the Scarlet Faithful Podcast. We welcome Aaron Breitman to the Jake and Ben Show. Aaron, thanks for a few minutes. How are you?
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Aaron, what were your thoughts on Ace Bailey, I guess, leading up to the draft and ultimately landing at number 5 with the Jazz?
Well, I think, immense talent, just natural scorer, can do it in so many different ways. But what sticks out to me and why I think Jazz fans should be excited is, you hear coaches all the time talk about players, how much do they actually love the game? And Ace Bailey loves basketball. I think, him being in a pro environment is just going to accelerate his development, being able to only focus on basketball in a full-time way. He loves the game. His attitude, his positivity is infectious on the court. I think, at Rutgers, he wasn't necessarily utilized in the best way. But, there's no doubt. I mean, he could score from anywhere. And I think he's a great pickup for the Jazz, especially just in terms of the way your team's set up and the wing situation there. I think he could step in right away.
What does he need to get better at?
Well, I think, a big thing for him is discipline because he is so talented. I mean, he can hit shots from anywhere on the court. At times, his shot selection can be poor. He could force things. I think, again, going back to Rutgers, I think there were ways they could have utilized him a lot better. They really didn't. I think he has a lot of potential on the role on screens. They really didn't accentuate that in terms of his skill set. But I think being surrounded around more talent is certainly going to help him. But I think it's just kind of his honing in and refinement of his top skill sets and trying to learn not to force it at times and let the game come to him. I think at Rutgers he tried to do too much at times because he didn't have that talent around him. So I think overall, just knowing his strengths better and being able to be a little bit more well-rounded in his scoring approach.
Aaron, I'm trying to get a feel for Ace he's just a loud player, and I mean on the court. Off the court, again, it doesn't seem like there's really been any issues other than kind of some weird pre-draft stuff, but no legal issues. Seems like a very good kid. Seems like people really like being around him. But he just is he's kind of a focus for noise and conversations and controversy, even on the court a little bit with his style of play. Is that self-inflicted, or is that just because he's kind of an interesting target, especially compared to a kid like Cooper Flagg, who's pretty mum, who's pretty quiet, who doesn't really do a lot of loud things on the court? Do you think Bailey's just a little bit of an easy target, or what is that?
Well, I think it's twofold. I think, he's a unique player with a unique skill set. Obviously, he's been compared to even like Kevin Durant at times, just in terms of his length, but his ability to shoot from anywhere. So I think his skill set is unique, and that makes him stand out a little bit. And I also think, to be honest, his handlers off the court have not done him any favors. But he's always kind of been, I think, perceived a little bit like maybe a rebel in a way. Like, he on the AAU circuit, he wasn't EYBL, he wasn't Adidas. He played for a small-time AAU circuit, so he never had that full-time kind of exposure. So he's always kind of, thought of on the side, and this immense talent that no one really kind of understood. And I think at Rutgers, that was doing something a little bit different, right? So he's a little bit of a unicorn there. Could have gone anywhere, chose to go to a non-traditional school. Obviously, as a team, they didn't have success there. So I think, right or wrong, there's always been kind of questions around him because he's done it a little differently. But, just for his time at Rutgers, everyone loved him, and he embraced Rutgers, only being there 1 year. Coming in with Dylan Harper, who obviously had Rutgers ties with his brother. I'm almost leaving thinking that, Ace loved being at Rutgers more than Dylan did, just in terms of the way he embraced the culture, the fans. And he's extremely approachable, and everyone has the best things to say about him off the court as well.
I'm sure this is a silly question, but one from afar would ask, why didn't they win more last year?
Yeah, no, it's painful for Rutgers fans for sure to have 2 top 5 picks and have a losing season. It's a detailed answer, but more or less the team was not built well around Dylan and Ace. Dylan did have some injuries, and that was a big part of it. Ace's 2 best games last year when he had to take over at Indiana. If you look at that film, he did it all in that game. But in terms of the team, they just didn't have a very good supporting cast. A lot of that was NIL related, not having enough to really build a good team around them. But I think also, listen, they had some freshman struggles. I think Ace with consistency a little bit. He struggled down the stretch. But I think it was all out of trying to do what was best for the team and do a little too much. But I think that there's certain things in his game, his passing ability, his defense. Those are things that I think over time that Jazz fans will see that he could develop and really become a more well-rounded player than he necessarily was at 19 at college where, the spotlight was all on him.
Yeah, and I guess, Aaron, along those lines, what's maybe something people get wrong about Ace, or you kind of get a sense of this is the national narrative, but you've seen him up close or you've talked to him that people may not understand?
He wants to win. As much as he is kind of, highlighted or spotlighted for his own talent, he really does want to win, and he is a team player. I think at Rutgers, listen, his job was he had to score, but there were certain games where he realized in certain matchups, there were guys that were open, and he was being unselfish. And I really do think his passing ability, it can be a real strength for him. So I think it's the fact that he really does care. I think people looked at him as maybe as a mercenary for 1 year. I could definitely say he did not go to Rutgers because he had got the most NIL there. There was relationships there with Brandon Knight, the associate head coach, that really got him there. And I think it's just, he's a real team player that wants to win, and he's just super passionate about basketball. It's not just about the highlights.
As far as value at number 5, do you think the Jazz got a lot of value with their pick?
Totally. I think it was a great pickup at 5. The fact that he slept that long, obviously his people were, trying to navigate and get him to wherever they wanted to get him. But I think the Jazz is a great situation for them. Obviously, Danny Ainge knows how to evaluate talent and knows how to build a roster. So I think it was a great pickup for the Jazz. And I think it's also a great environment for Ace where he can really just come in, put in the work, and get better.
Aaron, we appreciate you jumping on with us, and thanks for the insight, man.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Aaron.
Aaron Breitman, he is the host of the Scarlet Faithful Podcast.
He's just – I think one thing Aaron said there that is very accurate is, he's just a really unique player. His game is not – the reason you get comps to, Kevin Durant or, Carmelo or Paul George or all these different players, Rashard Lewis, he's unique. He's actually not a lot like any of those players. There's elements of his game, certainly the reflex and his shot making and his huge body are kind of reflective of that. He's just you're going to have to see him. You're really going to have to get a flavor for him. And Jazz fans will very quickly coming up a week from Saturday when they're playing in Summer League. He just you have to do you don't have to rebuild your team around him by any means. I don't think that's the case at all. Just like he has tools that you don't see in a lot of players, and that's what makes him unique. It's not unique bad. Danny Wolf, who we've talked about a lot, dropping to the end of the first round, really unique. It might be unique bad. It might not be unique in the positive way that you want to have to design certain pieces around him to make sure you utilize his strengths. I think the strengths of Ace Bailey, which is 6'8", it's going to be 6'9" in shoes, can shoot from anywhere, can shoot off the dribble, can shoot off of screens. Those are really valuable. You just don't see it in that package very often. And so you just have to make sure that you indulge that and you build into it, but also limit some of the things that he does wrong. Like he said, he just takes some crazy shots sometimes. You've got to figure out how to point him in the right direction.
And if Jordan Clarkson can learn those lessons, anybody can.
And that might be a lot of it. One of the things I think that I've thought about in this draft process a lot, this specific cycle, was the knock on Bryce Sensabaugh was, man, nobody in the NBA plays that way, so he can't play that way in the NBA. And I was like, that was right. Correct. He can't play the way he played at Ohio State in the NBA. But he did shoot 40% from the three-point line. And if you left him open, he was going to kill you. And that translated in year 2 perfectly. And Bryce had ended up being a pretty intriguing player where, yeah, if you leave him open from 3, the ball's going to go in, and then he's just big enough to do a couple of the other things and can use his dribble a little bit. And maybe that's just where you start with Ace. It's like, yes, everything he does is not going to translate day 1 to the NBA. But he is 6'8", and he runs off of screens really hard, and he shoots, and when he shoots, it goes in. It's like, okay, and then put him on a team that actually has spacing, which they had 0 of at all at Rutgers, and maybe let the strengths that he does actually have shine through, and I think they will.
This didn't happen with Ace, but if your mom stole your big moment, would you be mad?
Sure. We talk about Zach Wilson, or what are we talking about here?
I'm talking about Dylan Harper, but there were other moms last night that did steal the attention from their sons.
There were.
Would you be mad at that? Or do you forgive your mom because she's your mom?
I think
but
you
more
forgive your mom.
people,
and it's all you know, right? You only know your mom.
But more people are talking about Dylan Harper's mom than Dylan Harper.
You don't know how flawed your parents are even at 18. But by the time you're 39, you recognize all your parents' flaws.
But what, Mom, this is the second pick in the draft.
You know what? I think, first of all, the funny comp here locally is it's pretty relatable for a lot of people who got a mission call at 18 years old and they're like, where am I going? What am I doing? How am I supposed to feel about this? And I think a lot of times it's like this this graduation into being an adult. I think a lot of players are dealing with that, and I think your natural instinct still for a lot of people is to be like, where's Mom? Where's my parents?
But Lisa didn't steal Zach
no,
Wilson's
she did
night.
Not. No, she didn't.
She could have taken all the attention for herself, certainly. Yeah. But I don't even remember Lisa Wilson on draft night.
Yeah.
But Dylan Harper's mom she's still all over the internet.
Lisa was the next morning. was all of her stories came out. I'm sure it's all you know, because it's not his mom out of nowhere was like, this is my time. I've been sitting and waiting for 18 years to get to this point. Like, I'm sure she's always been this type of mom.
Every locker room that guy walks into now is going to some sort of the joke of, boy, your mom had a great draft night is going to be said.
Absolutely.
And poor, what's his name? The only thing that's saving Danny Wolf and his heartbreak on television is his idiot brother.
Yeah, right.
who I don't even know what tragedy it looks like he just lived through, but like puff up eyes, tears streaming everywhere. That guy is going to be an internet meme for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Little Wolf. Wolf, is he younger? I wonder if he's older.
But even remember when Rusty Wilson's girlfriend tried to steal his spotlight?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see. Did Ace have any family with him?
He did. Yeah, he had his whole family there.
Yeah. They didn't come up with him though, right? They didn't do the ESPN interview with him or whatever.
I think his mom might have been by his side at one of the interviews, but I don't think it was on the main interview. Again, I just kind of threw it on this morning.
I'd be like, you guys stay in the audience.
Correct.
I'm going to have my moment.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit the steakhouse after and celebrate.
That was Danny Wolf's older brother, Jake, by the way.
Jake Wolf.
Jake Wolf.
Emotional. He loves his brother.
Sure.
He shouldn't have to be living that out on TV either.
You remember Tim McCain's son? Tim McCain? No, Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine, the
no, not Tim Kaine.
vice presidential
Waltz.
candidate?
Waltz.
Tim Waltz,
Tim
the
Waltz.
other vice
Sorry,
president.
I'm mixing up my Tims. Remember his son was like, it's the same thing with Danny Wolf's brother.
But if I'm Dylan Harper today, I'm so mad.
I don't want to.
Like,
Mom! I don't want my brother to be famous because I don't want to be criticized for being happy for him.
Con Knipple had like all 4 of his brothers up there with him.
All of his brothers are named like Cage and Cliff. And
with a K.
They're all Ks. Yeah.
See, our friend Wild Turkey Fart Blunt just tweeted in. He said Dylan Harper's mom has 0 flaws. See, you're talking about his mom. If I'm him, I'm like, why is Wild Turkey Fart Blunt talking about my mom?
Yeah. Keep my mom's name out of your mouth.
We'll wrap up the show coming up next. 97.5 in the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions. Hey, what are you doing? Well, now, it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
Your show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
G-Bang! G-Bang!
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Woo! Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are live today from Peach Doors and Windows, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. They are also the sponsors of this segment. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. You can call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255, Peach Doors and Windows. Ben, we haven't talked a ton, I guess, about the fan base reaction to last night, and you are our Snap Talk monitor in chief. I think for the first time maybe ever, the fan base that booed Gordon Hayward is not really complaining. Even the complainers are not really complaining today.
You always find complainers. There's always a segment that
what are they complaining about today?
Y, or Z.
Other than the whole he doesn't want to be here thing.
Again, the whole, and I did get some of that last night. If you're like a die-hard draft circle guy, like if you're listening to all the podcasts and you're watching all the YouTube videos, et cetera, and you've watched the corpse of Ace Bailey get picked apart over and over and over, you would just think there's not a basketball player here. You would just think this is a guy who doesn't have any skills, doesn't have any idea how basketball is played, doesn't have any projectable future. And I think that gets reflected sometimes. People just get really hyped up on some of this, this narrative that does get created in these niche circles about, who this guy is or what he can and can't do on the floor. And I just think so much of it gets so overthought and dragged out. And look, it was my take that I brought to you a month ago, which is I think we overdo the draft. I think we look too hard at the draft. I think we get a little too nitpicky, especially on the court. Off the court, find out if it's a good guy, find out if it's a bad guy, find out how he's going to treat people, how he's going to fit in your community, et cetera, et cetera. That stuff is all important. But you go back and you watch 30 games of an 18-year-old, and the more you watch it, the more you want perfection, and the less you're going to see it, and you're going to start turning on players. But you're going to turn on every player if you do that. But then, as we mentioned with Austn Ainge talking earlier, the higher they come in as recruits, we seem to judge them more harshly on what the flaws are, even if their flaws are identical or similar to every other player in the draft. And I think that's where you still got some fans who are just like, can't pass. Never going to fit never going to have any value because he just didn't pass that well. It's like, is he not 6'8" anymore? He's not a great shooter anymore. He's not the top. He's not been better than everybody at his age every single time he stepped on the court for his entire life. None of that stuff matters anymore. But he missed that read. I watched the Notre Dame game. Didn't get to hit the guy in the third quarter because they don't do quarters, but second half. Just missed it. I don't like him. It's like, Okay, what are you doing now? what are you watching for? You've missed the forest for the trees. So I think you do get some of that criticism, but that's like the highest level, dorkiest, nerdiest people overthinking what you're actually looking for.
And how many of those people are just looking for something to complain about?
100%.
All of them?
All of it. Literally every single one of them.
Searching it out. I think maybe compare draft to something like picking stocks. You could probably look into a company and you could probably look through whatever. And if you you have yourself convinced subconsciously that you're not going to like this company for whatever reason, you'll probably find it. Well, I don't like this return or this decision or the way they do this, so I'm not going to do this. And next thing you know, Apple is the biggest company in the world.
It's all about confirming your biases.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Yep, good and bad.
I don't know. I like on the floor stuff. I just don't see that much to complain about, honestly. I mean, as opposed to trading up for Cooper Flagg, I don't know.
There's not more to complain about him than there is any other player in the draft save Cooper Flagg.
Yeah. So I don't understand that part. Maybe that I've spent today's show trying to connect with the complainers on what they're actually complaining about. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could complain about maybe he'll force his way out in 5 years, but I mean that seems like a long way away to me.
Yep.
On the floor, wise, you got a guy with size, an incredible amount of skill, the ability to play both ways. I just don't see what there is to complain about. A lot of value at number 5.
Yeah.
Like you got a player that probably should have gone 3, got that player at 5. Again, you didn't trade up to get Trey Burke. You know what I mean? You didn't. There's not a whole lot to compensate for in the messaging today. I mean, I think you've got a guy that takes some bad shots because he has a little too much confidence in himself or whatever. That's a fixable problem.
Correct.
That's not like Dante Exum couldn't shoot.
Right.
That's a way bigger problem.
Right. Every time he shot, it was a guess.
And his cancer was a stiff. Like those are problems that you can't.
Jeremiah Fears is 6'2"
really solve. But saying, hey, you shot the ball there. Try the extra pass next time.
Yeah.
That's not hard.
Right.
Like I don't understand. I don't understand the complaining.
When you catch the ball, instead of catching it and surveying, just make a decision quickly. Like even if it's just dribble, like in a direction, that's better than just catching the ball and stopping because then the defense. It's like that's literally a couple of you hammer that into him over a few practices, over a few months, and he'll be better.
And then they got a potentially dynamic guard at number 18.
Yeah. No, I think the Jazz
traded up to get their pick of a group of guards. So I mean, I just don't understand what there is to complain about.
I'm with you. I give it 5 stars. My review on Google, 5 stars.
But not that our review of the draft even matters. Who cares? But like, I just don't understand. I mean, there's a chance that Ace Bailey flops tomorrow. Anthony Bennett didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like, sure, there's a chance of that. But I don't see what their obvious thing is to complain about. I just don't.
Other than there's something to complain about.
Other than I'm looking for something to complain about. Yeah. All right, we've had a great time. We've been here at Peach Doors and Windows, 2940 South, 300 West. Cindy is jumping on with us now, and you waited till the very end of the show to jump on with us, and we've all been eager to hear your analysis of the draft.
Well, I'm not a complainer,
you are not.
So I'm pretty excited that someone who I thought would go at 3rd or 4th was still there at 5th to be drafted.
Yeah.
That's value.
It is.
That's good value there.
People do like to complain. That's true. And people like to complain about businesses, and that's what's so shocking about your 5-star reviews on Google is, look, people, when they want to be loud, it's usually about something that they're frustrated with. You have to be really special to deliver something that people want to go online and really be like, this was awesome. This was great. And that's the 5-star reviews you do see with Peach Doors and Windows. When you Google it, it is people raving about the product, about the installation, and most importantly, honestly, is the people who came and put it in your home, and that's you, Cindy.
As many 5-star reviews as we have don't come from just luck. They come from our staff here at Peach that shows up. They show up on time. They're there to answer your calls. They're there to educate you, inform you. We do clean installs. We stand behind our work. And it's what people are saying about us is something you can read and get a feel for who you want to do business with. We've been around for over 30 years, so we aren't perfect, but we try really, really hard. And that's all we can say is we try really, really hard to treat your home like it's our home, to treat you like family. And some of our clients do become family. There's no kidding about that. We just love the people that we work with. And we love the transformations of their homes when we replace their windows and doors. So we love to see the transformation that comes from what sounds like an overwhelming remodel, but is truly a wonderful transformation.
You guys say you've been around 30 years. One thing I love about you at Peach is your philosophy, business philosophy, I don't know how you want to put it, is old school. Customer service is a huge deal. Pushy sales stuff is not something that you guys are going to do. Gimmicks, that sort of thing is just not what you're going to do. You're going to be very transparent and very helpful and do things the right way. And I don't know. Maybe I'm sappy, but I feel like we lose a lot of that these days, you know?
It's really easy to see that being lost in our interactions with, let's just use one example, cell phone companies. You can't talk to anyone. You're not sure you're going to get an answer, but we just want to be transparent and have honest conversations and answer our phone, educate you. Even if you have simple questions, call us. We're happy to help you maybe something you're just not familiar with. And we have experts here who are trained to be the experts and to educate you. And if you just have questions, we're happy to answer them. We don't ever want you to feel rushed or like you're upsold or you're boxed into some package. We don't do things a cookie cutter way. We just do them customized to your home, your taste, your budget, your style.
Because it's your home, right?
It's your home.
I mean, yeah,
it's yours.
It's yours.
Your
it's
home.
Where you live.
Yeah.
Spend all that time. You want to do business with somebody who treats you like it.
Exactly,
you know?
right.
It's pretty cool. Well, we love coming out here, and we love you guys here. You're wonderful. You're wonderful to the show. You're great to our listeners, and it's fun to just come talk basketball with you.
We love listening to you each day. We love talking Jazz basketball. And we'll add a little hockey in there. I guess the draft's tomorrow.
Draft's tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of excitement
today.
about both of these teams. Yep.
I love off-season stuff in general.
It is. This is a busy time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks for having us, Cindy. We appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us here in our showroom today, Jake and Ben.
801-566-1255. That's the number to call. Get a free in-home estimate or simply drop by the showroom, 2940 South, 300 West in Salt Lake. Ben, we'll see you tomorrow, pal. X Games.
We'll be at the X Games.
Hans and Scotty G are coming up next.
Bring
Stay
your
tuned.
helmet.
97.5 the KSL
Thanks,
Sports
Christian.
Zone.